This podcast is the journey of two card game designers climbing the huge mountain of game dev together. Come join us on the adventure. Welcome to DevUp.
Three, two, one.
Hello everyone. My name is Juniper and welcome to DevUp, a podcast about two guys climbing up the mountain of game development and the journey of making really cool game projects.
Yeah, welcome to our first ever DevUp podcast. This is where we're going to be just talking about our journey in creating our own fun projects and some of the challenges that we're going to meet and how we can kind of overcome them together.
I thought what better way to kickstart us off is to run through, I think we've both had like the same timeline, like 2 years, right? We've had a bit of a 2-year journey.
Yeah, I was actually looking back a little bit. I was like, when did I meet Juniper? At what point in the journey of our development? And it was around 8 months ago when Riot Games announced Project K, and we were both kind of just like checking out Riftbound on the tabletop simulator version of it. And for me, it was like 2 or 3 in the morning, and I joined the server, and he happened to be in the same server, and we were like, I was just watching him play Riftbound for the first time, and later I was like, hey, I think I remember watching your game of there was a video that Fish, Zillers on YouTube, he created a video about Divine Engage, Juniper's game, and I watched that video before and realized that was the same person. You were the person who made the game. And that was just like, whoa, that's awesome that you also make card games as well. Like, we should totally connect. That's how we got started 8 months ago. And I guess at that point, we were still more than a year into our individual card game journey. So yeah, that was very exciting. Actually, I wanted to kick us off, and can you do a little bit of a brief introduction about yourself, like what you do in real life and like why you started making a card game?
Oh, that's a great way to kick us into it, I think. So yeah, my name is Juniper. I'm from Christchurch, New Zealand, all the way down in the bottom of the globe. And I am building up this really cool business and really awesome platform called the Egg Academy. It's a virtual world where young people can come online, have a really safe space to express their interests. It's for real awesome digital creative people. So we've got a community aged 10 plus, and they are making amazing artworks, games, music, and I have the privilege to create alongside them, help guide their journey a little bit as well. And so I love just facilitating creativity. And what got me into starting card games, I've been trying to make games since I was 9 years old, and I was looking at a couple of the crazy indie projects that I had floating around, the 30 or so of them at the time, going, I really need to focus on one project that's going to mean a lot to me. And as I kept kind of cycling through what games I liked and what I care about in games, a big one was just card games, and I saw what card games had kind of become. And as I was reflecting on like when I was a kid growing up and getting into card games, I was like, man, I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed in the monetization of card games. I'm disappointed in the fact that I can't share this passion with that many people. I can't really go up to people around me and say, hey, I'm really into card games. Like, I'm so enthusiastic. Because it just feels like I can't really get them to learn the games very easily. And I guess that drove me to have this passion of, I want to make something that I can bring to people and get them into card games and get them into my passion, and make something that I can share with them. And so that kicked me into the drive of, I'm gonna solve this card game thing. I'm gonna make something that's really approachable, and for anyone out there that maybe is on the fence of giving card games a go, like, this would be a good little gateway into the genre. So that
So it's like you're trying to make card games more accessible for a lot of new people who are like new to the genre. I think that's a really good goal to have. Is there so I kind of spoiled it earlier, but the project that you're working on is called Divine Engage, right?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is Divine Engage. So yeah, I guess going through a bit of the 2-year journey, we sort of start over in the most interesting area, which is not a card game. I had this epic intro.
Talked all about the card game just now, and then you're like, it's not a card game?
Yeah, so interestingly, before I had this revelation at like this lunchtime kind of cafe about card games, I had a little project going, and this idea was I really want to tackle maybe something multiplayer, something fun and engaging. And I was watching my wife play TFT, Teamfight Tactics by Riot Games, and that was pretty cool. And they were like, oh, maybe I can show you how to play TFT. I'm like, that's great. And so I liked this idea of this kind of tactics kind of thing, like maybe something that's cool. I heard a little bit of asynchronous multiplayer where you kind of play multiplayer but not live, floating around the game dev space. And I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool, something interesting. And the more I thought about this, the more I realized I couldn't not land on a game loop for the life of me. I was like spiraling on game loops. Like, what's the core loop of this game? What's going to be exciting? So what really, and I think this is a really big thing that I should honestly like get up on the screen here, is card jitsu. Now, if anyone out there has not heard of this game, you may have heard of the very, very big social platform Club Penguin. Club Penguin. Yo, I love Club Penguin. I really sat with myself on this one. And I went, I want to make a game, but game loops are really important. And I asked myself this question, what is a game that I loved, that I have a core memory of? And for some reason, I don't know why, but I immediately just thought of Card Jitsu from Club Penguin. This game, really simple, kind of rock, paper, scissors, like real random minigame. There wasn't a ton of depth, but there was a definite core loop that was really, really fun to engage with. And you would kind of play these cards that have different elements on them and kind of rock, paper, scissors it out. But the game was never really expanded upon because it was just a kind of a mini game. It served its purpose, but people, especially me, loved this game and were really, really into it. And so this sparked me off this crazy train of what if I took the simple premise of Card Jitsu and then built upon it and expanded it, maybe just started from that idea and make my way through. And this kind of got me into immediately world building and sparking off ideas of this universe of characters and lore. I love to run D&D games, so writing lores and stories alongside the game as I built it up was really important. And so I kicked off, and this sparked in the age of Divine Engage, where you have these 3 different elements. I started with these elements corresponding to like areas in the world and different creatures. And so you would kind of play these elements. One would beat the other, rock, paper, scissors style, and pulling from Card Jitsu, this idea of a card's power level. So if you played the same element, then you would compare the number, and the bigger number wins. My first idea was, let's add in TCG abilities on top of this. Let's add in card effects and all the things I love from Hearthstone and other things like this. Immediately making the game riddled with cursed problems and a lot of design choices I had to make. But over the course of maybe some episodes, we can dive into some of the design choices I made on the project. But over this 2-year journey, I really kicked into overdrive on this rock, paper, scissors idea. And I leaned into it quite hard and really landed on a core game loop, which at first was really centered around the idea of your divines, these big, awesome, primordial characters that you would embody and empower and play with and play as. And so I crafted up these 3 primordial beasts, Zephyr, Venner, and Locke, and went to work on some playtests in person through just an online browser kind of app, getting people to drag and drop cards around, and Tabletop Simulator. And this was really awesome. I had a lot of people play into the game loop. I've done some months of testing and iterated. And there has been so many things. And meeting Kaydan and meeting Daniel some months ago, I think you'll find a testament to working with others and sharing perspectives is such a strength, because now looking at where the game is, finally, this is where we're up to in this 2-year journey, through the hard efforts of artists and coming together with friends to talk about game design, tackling this really cool problem. I think what I've gained is a project and a design challenge of how do you solve a card game that ultimately has this random mechanic, this rock, paper, scissors, and designing around that has been so much fun. Doing it with Daniel and other people, it's been a blast. And so now we're here 2 years later with an epic card game that is coming to some digital playtesting very soon.
That's very, very exciting.
Thank
you for that very awesome overview of your journey from the start. I definitely remember when I first met you and you showed me your game. It was very different from the version that I know Divine Engage as of now, and it's just so exciting how much you were able to go through many different iterations and designs, and you were just learning a ton from all these different experiences of different versions of the game that you went through. And I think it's going to be exciting to talk about each of those iterations and what those things were. But yeah, I as of now, I love everything about the aesthetic of the game. Look at this cute Madoink character slapping someone.
Dude, this card's gonna make people so angry. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, this
is fantastic.
This guy's great. Yeah, it's been a journey, and meeting you, Daniel, with your game, and finding this game development mountain together and going, oh my gosh, another expedition, another climber to go up with has been so awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, rewinding to 8 months ago, when I first heard of Chilijack, not to spoil too much about your own project, I was super excited, and I love this idea of, oh my gosh, this super passionate guy is drawing all these awesome chilies and doing some awesome things. I was so keen to jump in, and after seeing the game and playing it, I was like, wow, this is fun. This is a lot of fun. Tell me, I'm so curious to rewind and really hear more of your story, Daniel, on the kickstart, the getting started of Chilijack.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Where do I begin? I think at the time when we met, maybe Chilijack, it may have been on this version or this version, somewhere between these two here. And at that point, it was about a year into its development. But kind of to go all the way back to the beginning, and then even before is just to kind of introduce what I do. I'm a sound designer. I work at Riot Games on League of Legends full time, and I've been working there about 6 years. So I love working on games. I love playing games, but I specifically love designing card games. That's the thing. And I remember going back probably close to when I was also 9 years too. I was making my own Pokemon cards and stuff. At the time, they didn't have any abilities. I just drew monster pictures and stuff, and I would just play them with my sister, and we would just collect a bunch of fake Pokemon cards together. I tried to play Yu-Gi-Oh, but my mom made them throw it away. They were all just demonic. It's
Oh no.
yeah, but I really really wanted to like collect cards and play with them because they just look so cool. And um I think as I kind of started getting into college and started learning about like game sounds and things like that, I also just had like this past part-time hobby of just like making my own card games. So I tried to make a deck builder out of like the Pokemon IP. I tried to make like a League of Legends trading card game before they actually announced Riftbound, and all these like different projects that kind of helped me just have a lot of fun in my spare time. Um, and yeah, about 2 years ago, I at the time I was like married to my wife, and she is not really like a card gamer, I would say, like most of us would be on this channel. If you're watching this, you're probably a designer or like a passionate player. But she's a very like introduction type kind of a player to the card game genre. So I wanted to play some kind of card game with her, and basically made a very like simple, almost kind of like a rock paper scissors like card game to play with her. And it was at the time I was like absolutely addicted to Marvel Snap. So the game that I made was kind of like Marvel Snap, where instead of three locations, you have like one location pop up, and you're just playing cards from your hand that you randomly drew together from a shared deck to play there, and whoever meets the win condition better just wins. And the game was like 2 minutes long or 3 minutes long. It was very quick to play. I made that, and she loved it. We still have the copy of that game like in our closet together. We'll like pull it out to look at it. But I started thinking after like I finished working on that game, like, this game's not bad. What if I try to kind of, add more things into it, make it into an actual card game that me and my friends could play. So that's why you will see this like very first card right here. It has like an anime character on it. This is actually like a stolen art, basically. It's a very temp art from like another mobile game. I just needed something to prototype, basically. And I had some card abilities and numbers on the top and stuff. And the core gameplay loop that I really liked was actually trying to get to like a certain number, but not going over the number. Whoever was closest to the number would win. That was the original idea. And over time, it kind of grew into this theme that I have where all the cards have like heat and they're chilies. Actually, all these pictures, they don't look like chilies, so it's probably not the best example of what they are. But yeah, over the next course of 2 years, cards kind of have just evolved in their design, their abilities, and their art as well. On the bottom, you see some like screenshots and pictures that I took of my friends playing the game, and all the different like iterations and stuff that I even tried. I even tried to make tokens for the game as well. Down here with like little buttons that I bought from like a store here, and then custom playmats and stuff to just play the game on. It was really fun. I think this 2-year journey so far has been very, very, very fun and like filled with all these like good memories. And I'm very excited to have the game ship hopefully soon. That's my goal. But yeah, there's like a lot of different things that I learned along the way that I want to share. And I'm still trying to solve some of these issues with my card game as well. So maybe we can solve them together on this DevUp podcast.
Yo.
Yeah.
Amazing. Honestly, the journey of this, like coming in like halfway through was really interesting because it's sort of like, oh, I get to experience the rest of the build journey, but there was already like so much like cool ideas and history that came through. So it's really cool like to hear that like coming together of like how you arrived at some of the concepts. Like, oh man, some of these photos and memories seem really fun. That seems amazing. And I want to commend you for like your art and taking the weight of like, I'm going to attack this project and do the art myself and like train your art skills over time. And I mean, damn, like that's a journey in itself. Like, what? This new Ace of Chilies
Yeah,
looks amazing. Like,
thank you.
hats off for taking that approach. Like, I think that's
Thank you so much.
amazing.
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of briefly touch on that, art in card games is, I think, very important. As we could see in your like later iterations of Divine Engage, like all these divines look absolutely gorgeous. They're just so iconic looking, and they're like towering over you. You're like, whoa, I want to play as this big dragon or this like molten lava rock phoenix thing. It's like, it's so cool to hold that in your hands and look at it and be like, yes, like I'm this character. And it's important to get the art right, and it's also, I think, very important to get the theme of the game to kind of line up with your art as well. And that is something that I definitely struggled with from the start, as you can see in the very first attempt at drawing my own cards here, with like this Pharaoh card and Sendra, Thymir, and then the Habanero. Yeah, my wife gifted me an iPad when I told her that I was working on this card game, and one of the first few things that I was like struggling with was, how am I gonna find an artist for my game? Like, because obviously this card here looks a lot better because they did use an artist, and but if your game is mostly gonna be featuring characters and stuff, you need your characters to look good, right? And I currently didn't really have a budget for that as well, so kind of had to like brainstorm on like what's like the best way to do stuff. And this is before I like completely decided on the theme of the game. But yeah, basically at some point I was in a restaurant, and one of this like the earlier version, when I was like still on this like units and like they're fighting a giant mech, that was like the original theme of the game. And I remember players kept trying to draft cards that had a lot of number, and we used to call it power at the time, like 10 power or like 7 power, 8 power. They were always seen as better cards than cards with like 1 or 2 power. And I remember thinking to myself, like, how am I going to tell the players that sometimes not the hottest, like highest cards are not always the best ones, because lower numbers sometimes have better abilities. And I was at a restaurant. I was about to eat something super spicy at the time. It was like a hot chicken feet or something like that. And I was eating that. I'm like, oh my god, I got it. It's the unit of measurement that I want to use for my game is actually heat, because heat, you can get really hot, but you don't want to go too high and overheat potentially. So if a unit of measurement is heat, the characters that I want to use are going to be chilies. And the theme of the game is going to kind of pivot from this like sci-fi battle into like a cooking scene where you're using chilies to cook. And chilies worked out perfectly for me because chilies don't usually have limbs. I don't have to go too much into details of like them having hands and feet. They're really hard to draw. And all I needed to do was just draw a little face on them and make a template that I could use over and over again. So that helped like solve the issue of the theming and also the art problem that I had. And over time, I mean, you can still see that I had some issues from the start with the Ace of Chilies here. It doesn't look like the best. Over time, I drew a second iteration of it again, and then later I drew this like updated iteration with like more colors and slightly like more smoother like edges and stuff. So yeah, I think over like a process like a year and a half, I got used to drawing more on the iPad. But definitely, if I were told to like draw something like Locke or Zephyr from Divine Engage, I would not be able to do it. Definitely, if you're working on a game that has like a very cool like serious theme to it, hire an artist, talk to your artist, and see what you can like figure out. I'm sure that you can find the right artist for your project. But yeah, that was kind of like the journey. I decided to do my own art, and it was okay because the game is very like silly in theme, I guess. It's a very casual game that you could just rip out and play and then put it back in. Yeah,
Amazing.
I kind of want to ask about your art actually for Divine Engage. How did you get to where you are? Who did you work with, and where are you going?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, like, I totally took the opposite approach, which in hindsight, I'm like, ooh, was that right? And maybe, we'll see. And my approach at first was like, I didn't sort of lean into the possibility that I could crank out the visuals for my game. And I think immediately it sort of goes to that first revelation I had of why I kickstarted the project. And it's like, I want to kind of make a real statement with this project up against the big dogs a little bit in the TCG space. Like, I don't really want to hear any more of this, I don't have enough money to build this deck. You know, I want people to go and have a TCG that they can play, and they can play it. Like, there's no extra conversations that need to be had. And to do that, I knew that the game would have to be quite serious and the artwork had to be quite good, because you need to convince people to stop playing one IP to play another IP, right? And going from Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Magic, that's quite the task. That's not just some quick thing. I have to convince people that maybe have invested their time into one game already. But I thought that a nice mission would be to have these people who might be passionate about card games like I am that want to share it. And so maybe this could be, maybe it doesn't take over their main game, but having it so people can confidently share it. And to me, that was really high quality art, something that they would want to invest their time into. And so I made the decision early on that I really wanted like full-on AAA quality artwork in this game somehow. Crazy decision, like making a game by yourself, sitting going, yeah, I'm gonna do this, not having the ability to do it myself. And so I started with in this kind of first version of Divine Engage, these really cool like assets of these kind of golem-y looking characters, and this got the ideas turning, and I found these on itch.io. So they're made by some random artist on the internet. They kind of threw them up and said, hey, here's some assets. And I was like, this is great. I'm gonna kickstart the ideas through this. It had that kind of character feel, which was really fun. And it let me just explore and experiment. And starting with assets was quite a cool way to bonk around. And I think it's important that even though I had this big mission of really high quality, I started scrappy. And this is how I actually found the artist for the project. They were selling small art assets on itch to basically be a marketing funnel for their commissions. And they posted a really cool video about how they accidentally became a card game artist. Their name is Zillerus, and that was a really cool, fun video about how our first commissions on the project got started. And it was really awesome because they kind of kicked in with a really good impression of the game, and they jumped in on the fun, and they drew some really awesome artworks and characters. And so what they started with is they actually started with taking these kind of golem-y characters and making a poster for the game. And from there, I sort of looked at what I was making and I said, okay, my UI skills right now need some work. Maybe I can get Zillerus to make up some card frames. And so in this sort of version here, I worked with them, and then I also found through playtesting, I brought in more, and through Zillerus's video, we brought in some more people into this awesome place called the Tavern on the internet, where we host up all of these games. And someone that joined was called Aru. They're an artist really passionate about being a card game artist, and they drew these versions of Venna, Locke, and Zephyr.
Wow.
Oh, this might have been someone else actually. I think that they did some sketches, and then it was another artist that jumped through. I've had a couple of them, and they were sort of jumping through the tavern, and I commissioned in a couple people to do different versions. So there was Aru, and there was one or two more artists that hopped through, and they did these kind of versions. And these were really cool. They had this kind of very element look to them. It was very popping, and this was a great step. It wasn't a great step for my bank account. I'll tell you that. If you are thinking out there, maybe I can try and hire some people. It is very difficult if you're an indie to try and financially resource this type of thing. I'm a madman, but that drive, I sort of just went, all right, I'm gonna just keep doing it because I believe in the final result. And over this journey, like, this was great because it gave the project some visuals, and artists are really talented, and this allowed a lot of playtesting to happen, and people were able to really visualize some of the cards and characters. I did use a little bit of like placeholdery, maybe AI stuff here and there at the very, very early stages, just to get some early playtests going, but I wanted to strongly pivot away from that and into commissioning artists to bring in the value. And over the journey, Zilarus has now really awesomely come in to contribute and really support the project by providing us with the first core set of character arts, starting with Madoink over here, our latest and greatest, and also the final 3 divine characters in full rendered form, which is incredible. So yeah, that process was really interesting. Just finding really cool creative people online to share in the idea and in the mission. Really hurts the bank account, but it's kind of that idea of investing in the mission and the idea and seeing it through like that. I think that if I were to tell myself 2 years ago, getting started, what should I do? What should I do getting started making a card game? Do more of the scrappiness. Believe in your ability to draw, even if you've never done it before. Believe in your ability to design UI, even if you've never done it before. Believe in your ability to build something for print if you've never done it before. Because over this journey, even though I've hired artists, I have grown myself in drawing and design because I've had to, and I've had to be scrappy for playtests. There's been versions where I've been waiting on commissions and I needed to playtest something, so I had to whip something up in the meantime, and these things happen. And so I think even if your idea in the future is to have these wonderful rendered artworks, that will happen. But I think that having more of this really fast, scrappy nature of it, people, I think, care more about fun, and they care more about the story of it and the fact that you're just playing a game together. And yeah, I think that if I could tell myself, hey, don't get too stuck up on this, but still keep strong, then that's what I would tell myself getting started, and anyone else taking on a similar approach to art in the game.
That's very interesting. Wow. Actually, that's a really good advice. Like, what would you have told yourself 2 years ago when you were getting started? That's something that, like, I think would have helped me a lot if I can go back at 2 years and tell myself, hey, do this or don't do this. I wish that I would have done more of like recording my process and talking about my journey from either like a dev blog person, something like that I could put onto a YouTube channel to have like a very early version of my game versus like where I am now. I feel like I'm very like late to this process because I've been so focused on just working on the game for about like almost 2 years, and now it's kind of like it's harder for people to just find my project and be like, oh, this looks cool, compared to the very earliest version of it where it's like still very like rough around the edges and has like very like temp art. But it's also never like too late, you know, and I might even be thinking that it's like close to being done, but we could still be like 1/5 way there. Like that's the joke of this podcast is you think that you're at the like, close to the summit of the mountain, but it's like the video game peak where like you get to the checkpoint and you're like, okay, I see the next mountain that I'm about to have to cross, and it's a lot taller than I thought it would be. That you're never truly done with your game, and that's like a topic for another day.
Oh yeah. Oh, I think so. I'm excited to approach the never-ending peak. I think that's but like I said, I'm optimistic. I am optimistic that one day it won't be the never-ending peak. It'll be the peak, and it will be peak.
Yes.
Right. I guess like I'm interested, right? Like for what you would tell yourself when you are getting started with games and getting started in this project. Like, is it for you? Was it about getting it out there earlier?
I think for me, playtesting like a prototype and understanding the goal, the vision that I had for this game was I wanted it to be like a physical first kind of game. So a lot of the pictures that I took down there actually in person, playtesting with my good friends Tony. Tony is like sitting on the right side here, and Adam sitting on the left here. I really love this like in-person tactile feeling of holding onto your cards, looking at your opponent's face, and trying to wonder what they're about to play. And you start to see like a grin on their face, and you're like, oh, this guy's about to do something, and let me try to outplay him. That I wanted to recreate that feeling so badly. So from that, that emotional response that I wanted to evoke from my players, I derived all the game mechanics to do those things exactly. First of all, it had to be like a one-on-one or like a maybe 3 or 4 player experience. So everything had to be like quick and snappy. I didn't want players to be reading 5 paragraphs of abilities and be confused and ask questions. I wanted them to just sit down and play the game right away. So right from there, I decided that there was only going to be 2 types of cards in my game. You wouldn't have to like spend too much time learning. And cards UI, everything had to be very easy to be read from across the room. It's like bright red and like a little fireball. You can see it even when you're upside down. You can read a number upside down. And it's just a lot of like design decisions, and very early on like art, UI, all those things were derived purely from me wanting to create a casual game for 2 friends to play and just sit down at any given time. So my advice to myself, and something that just worked, that I would like say continue doing, that's something that was like successful for me, is figuring out what the goal, like the emotions that you want to evoke from your players are, and try to hone into that and see what kind of game design choices and art choices, or any choice that you ever make in game design to help with that experience. And if it doesn't provide anything meaningful to contribute to that experience, then maybe it's something worth like taking a second look at and being like, do I really need this element here, or is this going against my initial vision that I had for this game? And sticking to it and not losing track of that over the period of time is really hard to do. But that's why we have other designers play our games and play tests and give feedback and things like that to stay on the track.
I like what you said there about the goal. You know, like when you're getting started with a project, having a very clear goal in mind. I think that's I really like that. I really like having because I'm not really like goal oriented normally. You know, like it's not something I'll consciously think of, but I think like when it comes to a project, I think it's really nice to give to the project. We're giving it this essence, you know? And I think you're so right. Like the maintenance of that essence is really important, but it's very difficult because you can so easily get lost in the weeds of everything. And
Right.
So having this like North Star almost, I think is super important. So it sounds to me like, and maybe you can clarify, like when getting started with a project, do you think that it's really important that this North Star that you're going to follow, this goal, is really accurate at the start? Like it should be, would you say to yourself at the start of your project, should you spend 6 months, 2 years? Like, should you spend as long as possible making sure the goal is really accurate?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think it took me a couple months to figure out and kind of settle down on the goal of my game. But once I settled with the goal, then I continued following that same goal until now. But it's also very important to like get that goal right. And you should spend as many months or as much time as you possibly need to find the goal that you're really happy about. And it could be like an ethos for all of your games. Like ultimately, I think our goals as designers is to promise fun to our players. Anyone who picks up our games, from the moment they look at the cards and they pick it up to sit down and play with their friends, all the way to the end of the game when they're putting the game down, we're promising them a good time. No one sits down to just like not like playing the game, right? It's always about having fun and creating this like happy fun memory that you get to spend. And sometimes different players exist where sometimes players want to have more of a challenging time solving a puzzle, or they want to prove themselves through like deck building and they want to be the best. And then there's some players who just want to experience random casual fun explosion moments and stuff like that. It's difficult for a designer to address all those different types of players in one game. Though certain games like Magic the Gathering, they just have so many cards being released, and they do try to like focus on the different archetypes of players and design every card game for them. But usually, your gameplay loop and like the core mechanics of your game should ideally be focused on one group of players from the start, because especially if it's your first project, I think it's very difficult to make a game that can support all these different types of archetypes of players in it. It's gonna have so many systems in there that you're gonna have to create and to make this possible. So I just think it's so hard to create a unique and original game system that you would be able to stick with all the way through. So something that was like really important for me at the start that I think helped me a lot was actually copying another popular game's mechanic and building off of that, right?
Yes.
For me, it was blackjack. I took just like a basic simple idea of getting to 21 and not going over it as like the main theme of the game. Like everything was created on top of that idea, and that never changed. Sometimes I pushed the boundaries and said maybe instead of 21 you go to 99. Like what if you can go to 15 instead of 21? And those were the boundaries that I pushed with the main mechanics. But the game has always been about getting to a certain number, and that helped me iterate and come up with card ideas really quickly. But if I had to like make blackjack from the start, if I had to make this card game where I didn't have that, then I think it would have been a lot more difficult. Same thing for you. I would have even asked, you started with like this idea of rock paper scissors and like, cardjutsu from Club Penguin.
Yes.
And that core idea hasn't changed since then, right?
I mean, no, like it really hasn't. I think it's like that was what I really asked myself at the start was like, what's a game I love? You know, like what is, like you're saying, right? As designers, how do we have fun? Like how do we give fun to players? And for me, I drew up the deepest, memory I had of fun with card games. and from there it was just building upon it, and until it like changed dramatically. But at the core foundation, this idea of elemental rock paper scissors with power numbers, like that's in the game still, even though there's divines and you attack them and there's damage and abilities and there's transcendence and all sorts of cool crazy stuff. The core simple mind games and rock paper scissors fun and that you can pack into 5 minutes, that's the core of the game. And so I fully agree, and I think that's been I think when we met, this was a really cool thing to gel over, that we were kind of designing games that had this direction to it. And I think that it's been cool to see like how you've adapted and evolved that, and I think it's been really fun doing that myself through DE as well. Like I think it's been really cool. But yeah, I like that as a premise getting started, you know, like just don't like, especially with inventing what you would say as like new game systems or things like this. That's a hard task. Like if we're saying let's tackle the game dev mountain, that is the Mount Everest of mountains, you know, like that's the crazy mountain that you're gonna tackle. So I think like saying, yeah, I'm gonna tackle a big mountain climb, but I'm gonna start by jumping up a hill that I'm already familiar with. You know, you're going up the starting path that you're familiar with I think it's a great booster. I think it's a great thing to get started. If you're like just getting started with making games, or if you haven't, you really want to, like, go and find your favorite thing that you just have so much fun with and it's so expressive, and start there. Start with what you're familiar with, I think. Like
if you're if you're a huge fan of like deck builders, you could try to make your own deck builder, and like TCGs, you could try to make your own Pokemon or own Magic. Like start somewhere, and then see how that goes. Maybe you'll learn a lot about like, oh, this is actually very difficult to do. Like, how do you balance cards, and how do you manage to make deck builder in the first place? It's a really good exercise, and it can definitely lead to a really fun time developing all these different kinds of card games, and have like those tools under your belt as you're working on your next card games too.
Yeah, I feel like we're climbers of this mountain, you know, like we haven't gone all the way up to the peak yet. Like we're still on our climbing journey, but we're kind of like, I feel like through this 2-year process where we've got our climbing gear on, you know, maybe we've made it up to our first lodge. We've been chilling out there, having some hot cocoa or something, and we've like traveled back down to the base of the mountain with this podcast. And I kind of like it. We're bringing down this like idea of the first pathway, you know, getting started. It's like this is our process, and this has been our perspective and journey. And yeah, I think it's been really cool to go through that. Like what's our ideas getting started? Like how do we feel about it now? And as we climb back up to the lodge where we're at, you know, go back to our like mountain checkpoint. I mean, I'm just super excited, and I think there's a lot more that I'm excited to share about, like different topics and things like this. And I'm so keen to see more of your stuff, Daniel, and hear more of your thoughts. It's been very insightful going on this climbing journey with you. Like I think it's great. It's like if you're doing a project, like find a climbing buddy, because it's so much better than going alone.
Oh my goodness, yes. Like I can't say how much I appreciate Juniper's presence. Sometimes I'd be like struggling with coming up with like new ideas, or like these feedback that I'm getting from my players, and then I just like talk to Juniper at like 2 or 3 in the morning, and he's going through the same thing. We actually end up helping each other. Like I would sometimes give feedback on DE that helps it progress, and you would give feedback for Chilijack that helps me move along as well. And like having that climbing buddy, I think, is also like so I can't say how valuable it is. So yeah, finding another designer or developer, or even you could even reach out to us. We do have that Discord channel that you mentioned, the Tavern, and I guess since this is gonna be a video, we'll probably leave the link somewhere on the video so that people can like help find us if they could hear us. But yeah, I'm more than ever excited to like talk about these topics of challenges in game design and the progress that we're making on our game. It's super exciting. Can't wait to share them in the upcoming podcast videos. So yeah.
Yes. Oh man, it's gonna be so much fun. This was a great way to get started, I think, for the journey, and it's gonna be up from here. So
yeah.
Yo, thank you so much for listening to the first episode, a little test run as we go up the mountain together. So we will be back next week with some more fun, some more designs, some more thoughts.
Yes.
So yeah, any final words, Daniel, before we sign off on our journey today?
I would say, if you are starting and you're making your first card game, and this can be like a little like challenge for you, is just try to go and play card games that you haven't tried yet. There's a really fun one out there called The Bazaar. I'm kind of giving like a shout out to that game that I'm kind of addicted to right now. It's like an auto battler, but the premise of the game is super fun. But there's also other games like the Slay the Spire, Dominion. It's a deck builder, or you could try to play card games in person with your friends as well, and just really find the card game that like maybe you can like steal ideas from. It's not really stealing. You're not ever stealing anything. We're all kind of like sharing ideas and mechanics from each other. So yeah, maybe this week you can do that, and then maybe come back next week and we could all talk about some of the card games that we're playing right now, and what are some of the interesting ideas that you could like take away from certain card games that you like. So I don't know, we haven't set the topic for next week yet, but if you have a specific topic that you would like us to talk about, feel free to put it in the comments below. We'd love to hear your ideas.
Yes. I think that's a great one, honestly. Yeah, if you guys find any like really cool niche card games, like maybe you've heard about it in your past, maybe you find it from the episode, come tell us about it. Love to hear more.
Yes.
I think a really
Please.
cool one to check out and is Regicide. Now this is a cool game because you play it with a pack of playing cards. You can get any pack of playing cards and you can immediately start playing Regicide. It's a really cool kind of dungeon crawl game, and it's a cooperative one, so grab a friend as well. That is a lot of fun, and
That sounds fun.
yeah. Oh man, I love games, and I really employ people to search for games that have simplicity, just simple fun. I love Connect 4, I love Rock Paper Scissors, clearly. So just go out and find simple fun. Don't need to overcomplicate it. But yeah, we'll be back with some more things on the horizon. Very excited. But until then, it's time to go up and up and up.
Yes,
All right.
Let's do it. Let's get ready for another exciting week of development. And yeah, see you next time on this podcast of DevUp series.
Yo, goodbye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Thanks for checking out DevUp Episode 1. It was really awesome to get started. Next week, we're going to be tackling a really cool topic of development hell and development heaven with things like the release of Team Cherry's Silksong. So stay tuned for next week. We'll catch you next time.